WNBA refs, this is just a defensive foul. Thank you for the review. Just a defensive foul. No hostile act, just a foul on Sophie Cunningham. They call that a foul on Sophie Cunningham. She got 14 of her teeth on the ground.
The officials didn't need long to reach their decision. After the review, the announcement came over the arena speakers: just a defensive foul. No hostile act. Just a foul on Sophie Cunningham. In just a few seconds, what looked like a routine review suddenly became the moment everyone inside the arena, and later everyone watching online, started talking about. Instead of settling the play, the review immediately created more questions than answers. As the replay appeared on the broadcast, fans watched the contact from multiple angles, trying to understand how the officials had reached that conclusion. Some viewers accepted the explanation as part of a physical basketball play, while others believed the replay told a different story. Rather than ending the debate, each slow-motion angle encouraged people to pause, rewind, and look for details they might have missed the first time. The reaction inside the building reflected that uncertainty. Players looked toward the officials waiting for an explanation, coaches watched the review unfold from the sideline, and the crowd responded the moment the decision was announced. Instead of moving on to the next possession, attention stayed fixed on the referees. The game itself briefly became secondary as everyone tried to process why this particular ruling had produced such an immediate response. What made the sequence stand out wasn't only the call, it was how quickly the conversation changed. One review transformed from a routine officiating procedure into the defining talking point of the night. Broadcast cameras continued showing the replay, the referee's announcement echoed through the arena, and reactions from both benches suggested this wasn't a decision that would simply be forgotten after the next whistle. Within minutes, clips of the review began spreading beyond the arena. Fans replayed the sequence frame by frame, comparing what they saw with the officials' ruling and debating whether the review had reached the correct conclusion. That discussion quickly grew larger than a single possession, turning one referee announcement into the biggest storyline of the night. And as the debate intensified, another question started taking over the conversation: what happened before this review that caused emotions to reach this point in the first place? That review didn't happen in a vacuum. By the time officials stopped play to take another look, the game had already developed into a physical contest where nearly every possession seemed to end with bodies hitting the floor. Long before the review became the night's biggest talking point, players on both sides were battling for position, absorbing contact, and testing how tightly, or loosely, the game would be officiated. Throughout those early sequences, Sophie Cunningham was consistently involved in the action. She fought through screens, challenged drives to the basket, and continued playing aggressively in the paint despite repeated collisions. Those moments were part of the game's physical rhythm, but they also began drawing more attention from everyone on the floor. Every whistle, or lack of one, seemed to add another layer of frustration as the game continued. The broadcast showed several contact plays that immediately sparked discussion among viewers. Replays focused on the physical exchanges, while cameras repeatedly cut to players and coaches reacting from the sideline. Even before the controversial review, it was becoming clear that emotions were building with every possession. The bench remained engaged after nearly every whistle, and the crowd responded loudly whenever another physical play unfolded. It's important to separate what was confirmed from what came afterward. The confirmed events were the repeated physical sequences shown during the game and the officials' decisions on those plays. The claims that the officiating reflected bias or a larger agenda came later through commentators, media personalities, and public debate. Those opinions became part of the story, but they were separate from the events shown on the court. By the time the decisive play arrived, the atmosphere had already changed. Players were visibly invested, coaches were watching every whistle closely, and every new replay seemed to carry more weight than the last. That growing tension is what made the review feel so significant. Instead of being viewed as an isolated ruling, it became the culmination of everything that had unfolded earlier in the game. With emotions already running high, one announcement was enough to shift the entire conversation. What followed wasn't simply another possession, it was the moment that prompted an immediate reaction from Indiana's sideline, and before long, all eyes turned toward Caitlin Clark. The referee's announcement didn't bring the tension to an end. If anything, it marked the point where the focus shifted away from the decision itself and toward the reactions it produced. According to the transcript, as Sophie Cunningham began walking away following the ruling, Caitlin Clark immediately turned her attention toward the situation unfolding in front of her. In that moment, the story was no longer only about officiating, it became about how a teammate responded when emotions were at their highest. The broadcast cameras stayed locked on the Indiana bench and the players near the officials, capturing a scene that reflected just how significant the review had become. Instead of quickly resetting for the next possession, everyone seemed focused on the aftermath of the decision. Players exchanged looks, coaches remained engaged from the sideline, and the crowd reacted as the sequence continued to unfold. The atmosphere inside the arena had noticeably changed. The transcript describes Clark as refusing to let the moment pass quietly. It portrays her stepping in as Cunningham headed toward the tunnel, emphasizing her determination to support her teammate following the controversial ruling. Those descriptions are part of the transcript's narrative, while the confirmed on-court sequences that the review was completed and attention immediately shifted to the players' reactions and the officials' handling of the situation. Whether viewers agreed with the officiating decision or not, the emotional response quickly became one of the defining images of the night. Replays no longer focused solely on the contact that led to the review. Cameras repeatedly highlighted the faces of the players, the conversations with officials, the reactions from the bench, and the crowd's response. Those visuals transformed a disputed call into a much larger story about emotion, leadership, and team unity. Within minutes, discussion online began moving beyond the original play. Instead of debating only the replay, many conversations centered on Clark's response and what it represented. For some, it reflected loyalty to a teammate. For others, it showed how much frustration had built throughout the game before reaching its breaking point. Either way, the reaction ensured the controversy wouldn't end with the final whistle. It was about to grow even larger as voices outside the arena, including one of the biggest personalities in sports media, joined the conversation. The conversation didn't stay inside the arena for long. As clips of the review and its aftermath began circulating online, the debate quickly spread across social media, where fans, analysts, and sports personalities started weighing in from every angle. What had begun as a disputed officiating decision was now reaching a much larger audience, and one of the most widely shared reactions came from Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy. According to the transcript, Portnoy publicly criticized the officials after watching the sequence involving Sophie Cunningham. His comments reflected his personal opinion that the ruling was incorrect and became one of the most talked about responses to the incident. Those statements were his interpretation of what happened, not an official finding or lead conclusion, but because of his large following, they immediately amplified the discussion beyond the game itself. As screenshots of his posts and clips of his commentary spread online, the conversation shifted again. Fans were no longer debating only the replay shown during the broadcast. They were also reacting to Portnoy's criticism, sharing his comments, disagreeing with his conclusions, or using them to support their own opinions about the officiating. The original review remained at the center of the story, but the public debate had clearly entered a new phase. Media coverage soon reflected that broader discussion. Headlines focused not only on the controversial call but also on the growing reaction surrounding it. Basketball commentators, content creators, and fans continued replaying the sequence while comparing the official's decision with Portnoy's assessment. Although many people referenced the same video, they often reached very different conclusions about what they believed it showed. That distinction became increasingly important. The confirmed event was the official's reviewed decision during the game. Portnoy's criticism, along with the thousands of reactions that followed, represented public opinion rather than verified fact. Together, however, they transformed one officiating review into a story that extended far beyond a single night's action, generating a national conversation across sports media and social platforms. As more voices entered the debate, the discussion became less about one replay and more about what that replay represented. The next question was no longer whether people had seen the play, it was whether the growing wave of fans, analysts, and media figures actually agreed with Portnoy's view of what had happened. By this point, the discussion had grown far beyond the original review. The replay was still being shared across social media, but people were no longer watching it for the same reason. Some focused on the contact itself, others pointed to the referee's announcement, and many were comparing the slow-motion angles to decide whether the officials had reached the correct conclusion. The same sequence was producing completely different interpretations depending on who was watching. Media coverage reflected that divide. Some commentators concentrated on explaining the rule and why the officials may have viewed the play the way they did. Others questioned whether the review matched what viewers believed they saw on the replay. Rather than reaching a clear consensus, analysts continued breaking down the footage from different perspectives, keeping the discussion active long after the final buzzer. Fan reactions were even more divided. Across social platforms, thousands of viewers replayed the clip, paused individual frames, and debated whether the decision should have been different. Some defended the officiating process, arguing that reviews exist to ensure officials have the best possible look before making a ruling. Others believed the replay supported a different outcome and questioned how the decision was ultimately reached. Those reactions represented public opinion rather than verified fact, but they demonstrated how one review had captured the attention of the basketball community. It's important to distinguish the different parts of the story. The confirmed event was the officials reviewing the play and announcing their decision during the game. Public reactions from fans, media personalities, and analysts came afterward, with each group offering its own interpretation of what the replay showed. Broader claims about bias or larger motives remain matters of opinion unless supported by independent evidence. That distinction didn't slow the conversation down. If anything, it kept the debate alive. Every new headline, analyst breakdown, and social media post introduced another perspective, ensuring the play remained one of the most discussed moments from the game. And as the arguments continued, attention gradually shifted from the decision itself to a much bigger question. What effect could a controversy like this have on future officiating and the way similar plays are viewed going forward? Looking back, it's remarkable how one officiating review became the defining moment of the entire conversation. The sequence itself lasted only a matter of seconds, yet it continued generating discussion long after the game ended. The replay, the referee's announcement, and the reactions that followed combined to create a moment that extended well beyond a single possession on the court. The confirmed facts remained straightforward. Officials stopped play to review the sequence before announcing it would be ruled a defensive foul with no hostile act. That decision stood, and the game moved forward. Everything that followed, from player reactions to social media debates and media coverage, developed in response to that official ruling rather than changing it. Where opinions begin to differ is in the interpretation of what the replay showed. Some viewers believe the officials applied the rules correctly after reviewing all available angles. Others remain convinced the replay supported a different outcome and continue pointing to the same footage as evidence for their position. Neither perspective changes the official result, but together they explain why the discussion has remained active well after the final buzzer. The incident also highlights how quickly a single moment can grow in today's sports landscape. Years ago, a controversial call might have remained a post-game talking point for a day or two. Now, replays are shared instantly, analysts publish breakdowns within minutes, and fans can examine every angle frame by frame before forming their own conclusions. As more voices join the conversation, a routine review can evolve into one of the biggest stories surrounding a game. Perhaps that's why this sequence continues to resonate. It isn't remembered only because of the official's announcement, but because it sparked conversations about replay reviews, officiating consistency, player reactions, and the role of social media in shaping public opinion. Whether someone agreed with the ruling or disagreed with it, nearly everyone was watching the same replay while reaching different conclusions. In the end, the review produced something every major sports league eventually faces, a moment that people continue revisiting long after the final score has faded from memory. The official decision is part of the record, but the larger debate remains open. As future games bring new replay reviews and difficult officiating decisions, this moment will likely be remembered as another example of how one call can influence a much bigger conversation, and the next controversial review may once again raise the same question: will everyone see it the same way?